are a liar, Maria. I cannot believe you would do this. That is enough. Order in the court.
He ruined my life, Your Honor. He has to pay for what he did. Order. The court finds in favor of the plaintiff and awards full damages.
A rich woman named Vanessa Whitmore walked into courtroom number 9, believing she could buy her way out of anything. Diamond earrings sparkled, the kind of confidence only powerful people carry after spending years getting away with cruelty. Single mother, part-time waitress at small downtown's restaurant called Sunset Grill. Simple black uniform, eyes, hands shaking quietly while holding small envelope against her chest. At first glance, nobody would imagine these two women had ever crossed paths. Restaurants and now entire courtroom was about to witness consequences. Judge Rebecca Morris entered courtroom, calmly known across California for it stood respectfully. Except Vanessa barely moved from chair. Judge Morris noticed. Sat down slowly. Counselor, proceed. Vanessa's barely moved, stood confidently. Your Honor, my client, Miss Whitmore, unfortunate of false accusations and emotional harassment. Maria lowered her eyes quietly inside local restaurant. This case is Mas. Awfully. Attorney stood, Your Honor, Miss, publicly under assault, and this Judge Morris Mesfier changed instant. Ennis, Hassan said. Smenis smiled arrogantly weeks ago, but her expression otherwise. Marius, attorney, continued. Witness Wissa state. Whitmore insulted my client during sessions before throwing wine directly into her face, but 2 weeks might. Sasmai. Ennis might. Asas. Osmas. 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 Be. Osmai. This is so which are also sorry. This is so sorry. Moscow so tempting. Osmas so way. Isma. Asumi. Asum also smiles. It's my size. Isma. Also some Moscow so says gigas as my size so nice. Oscars. It's Whitmore says. Whispers spread quietly across courtroom seats. Carelessly, Whispers just admitted everything. Publicly. Judge Morris slowly removed glasses. Miss Muffron's confident. You threw wine into Miss Lopez. They approach evidence. First side, cross. Face courtroom lights dim slightly. This is first. First disappeared. Kara. This train trace face mouse. Dark space franchise and this is Earth's. So sacredness. So curses. Since Mars. Yes. Didn't. UI. This is us. 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 This is. There is such decisions. It's decision. Faces. Face. Affairs. Says. Says. Says impetus. Says. Booth nervously. The miss sat there, smiling proudly. With us, there's your sources at their size. Yes, it says. There is his furry. Also says, this is so smart. There are some says, it's so sad. This was it, it says. Is best. It's also sister, is a, is best. Some says. All said. All says. You some says. No matter says Mars. It says. It does. Usually says. It says. Zounds. Says. There is such a truth. Says. This is my sister. This is teachers. This is nice. There. This is Mary's. Sue's chorus. There is answers. This is a face. This is says. Sisters. This is smart. The footage Morris stared directly filled courtroom. Judge Morris directly toward Vanessa. Judge Morris shrugged carelessly. People exaggerate everything these days. Judge Morris looked stunned from audience wise. Raise Morris. The unexpected happened. Something dark suit calm expression. Judge Morris looked toward him. Identify seats. Judge Morris looked towards name. Identify yourself. Please, cracked instantly. Because Richard Whitmore was Court's former father-in-law. Richard stepped forward slowly. I was inside restaurant. That evening, Judge Morris nodded loudly. Please, Richard ignored her completely. That young woman served your table professionally for over an hour. For an hour, while you insulted her repeatedly. Courtroom remained completely silent and listening carefully. Richard continued. Emotionally, you mocked her accent, first in her stay, her income. Emotionally to you, Richard continued, Marches Mari, softly. It's emotional. Audience members' hands, slowly. Judge Morris folded done nothing wrong. Judge Morris folded hands, cold defensively. Because, taking your order, Vanessa suddenly snapped. Emotionally. Maria her ex-lice, victims. Judge Morris was realized too late how sound that sounded. But damage already done. Richard's Mossa called terrible massage. Sos mossa sonos mossos mossas massas. Mossa sa. Ossis sos modimas mossa sa. Osas massa. Os mossa sa. Mos. Mos mossas. Osas. Osas mos mossasa. Os mossas. Osa. Sonas osai. Mos mossos mos mossos mor. Mos. Osasa. Os. Mosas mortavisas mosas mos mos. Mos mos mosa. Mosas 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 mos mos mosar. Mosas. Sos mosas mosa. Judge Morris saw. Sosas mari. Then, another important detail regarding emotional damages suffered by client, Maria Messent, immediately looked nervous. The attorney continued softly. The night of incident, Miss Lopez's daughter was hospitalized after severe asthma attack. Suddenly, story stars morphed. Human Maria began crying quietly. Judge Morris' expression softened immediately. Most cheer brace. Yaristas brass expressionas, or missing work. I could just come from hospital. Before my shift, nobody moved. Nobody. I can shook badly. When she threw wine at me. Everybody stared like I was worthless. Even bailiff looked problems. Judge Morris exploded with disbelief. Judge Morris just stared emotional, and he muttered tully. Judge Morris state record is serious. Balm entered. Mora didn't tailored suit, serious expression, controlled anger, and moment ex-husband, and moment Vanessa saw him all color disappeared from first. The first burst, Citizen Bros Sally, Daniels, whispers. Judge Morris directly toward Vanessa, instantly us. Niles immediately, furious folder. Then Morris nodded. Once, necessarily. Morris mutters. Zamos star. Morris brightside. Resting workers. Reconitas. He placed them carefully onto Judge's desk. Mostum Stacy Churches. Mars. Istan. Isnars. Cesar. Mos. Estays. Des. Mos. Sounds stars. Mors to stars. Mars. Sestis silent. Mors. One. What? Mars. SS. Mars. Mors. Thicker set. Stone. Mosas. Snars. Mors. Moses. Mars. Cisas. Usiter. Nessars. Mos. Stars. Did snars. For years, Vanessa has humiliated employees, assist drivers, and restaurant workers. Anyone she believed was beneath her resigned after panic attacks. Daniel continued calmly. 3 employees mocked her publicly. During charity dinner, another employee required their therapy after the repeated humiliations. Courtroom became plateliness. Judge Morris reviewed papers. I.e. Her expression became. Daniel looked gently toward Maria. This isn't unusual behavior. This is who she is. Vanessa finally exploded emotionally. Publicly Morris turned toward her immediately. You perfect public into Vanessa's eyes. You know what hurt. Most Vanessa stayed silent. You know what, Art? Most Vanessa's voice trembled emotionally. The one in audience started crying softly like I wasn't. Even. Human Vanessa slowly looked to an audience, started to maintain eye contact. Anymore, Maria continued, quietly. Judge Morris slowly, my daughter was struggling to breathe in hospital, and you treated me like entertainment. Marston slowly is not character. Nobody, Maurice, nobody blinked. For first time in years is so powerful, forced her to confront herself as honest. Judge Morris's eyes. This court dismisses all file by Miss Whitmore. What continued, this piece is dismissed. This piece is not. Speech bones. Sorry, speech bones, speech bone. This is speech bones, is C. As once, these be stories, this be silent. Maurice small, silent. Smithsat, Maurice solo source. Mostly, source to see. This is lost, solo. Plus source, plus polars. This ball. Gasps spread instantly throughout courtroom. Maria covered mouth, crying uncontrollably. But Judge Morris wasn't finished. Furthermore, Miss Lopez is awarded damages for emotional distress, public humiliations, and sharperies. Morris, be stored, order. Vanessa stared silently downward, destroyed, completely. And Judge Morris' voice remained calm but sharp. Miss Whitmore, your behavior demonstrates cruelty, abuse of power, and complete lack of empathy. Beings. People working service jobs are not beneath you. They are human beings, deserving respect, dignity, and basic kindness. Courtroom remained completely silent. Came final moment nobody expected. As Vanessa stood to the away aggressively. Vanessa suddenly exploded emotionally. Don't touch me, officer barely moved, but Vanessa shoved his arm away aggressively. Don't touch me, shoved officer harders. Seconds, security stepped forward from both sides. The exact same woman who entered courtroom. Acting outside courtroom and powerful, down Vanessa everywhere, some recording on phones, some silently, and Vanessa Whitmore walked out, crying, humiliated and completely Vanessa whisper Meanwhile, Maria remained seated quietly, crying soft time at her deli. Judge Morris, Vanessa gently. You never deserved any of this. Maria broke down completely. Because sometimes the most powerful thing person can hear is slowly emptied afterward, but nobody forgot what they witnessed. That day, and definitely not moment, wealth failed to protect cruelty. Cameras flashed everywhere. Crowded hallway waiting for statements. Cameras flashed everywhere. Vanessa kept face lowered while security escorted her through crowd. For first time in years, nobody looked at her with admiration. Only disappointment, only disgust. Meanwhile, Maria remained seated quietly, poor looking toward S'more. Hands still trembled. Tears still rolled slowly down her face. Judge Morris gathered paperwork calmly before looking toward Maria. Once more, Miss Lopez. Maria looked up. You showed more dignity under humiliation than many powerful people ever show in comfort. Maria began crying again, not from sadness, embarrassment, humiliation in public. Fadi final believed her. Daniel Whitmore quietly approached Maria's table. For a moment, Maria looked nervous. But Daniel's expression carried. Maria looked tears carefully and he stayed silent. I should have spent years watching Vanessa hurt people and I stayed silent. I should have slow long ago. Maria but wiped tears carefully. And of this, Swatch protects people like her. But silence protects people, her. I stayed silent for too long. The courtroom slowly emptied later. That night, clips from courtroom hearing exploded across internet. Millions watched footage of Nest, throwing finessing wines. Samoria's face, millions watched security escort. Wealthy's businesswoman from courtroom social media flooded with reactions. Some people called it karma, others called it justice as former employees. From Vanessa's company started of humiliation, bullying, treatment, public insults, everything. Daniel said inside courtroom suddenly felt even more real within days. Several business partners quietly ended relationship, sponsors disappeared, interviews were cancelled for first time. Life money could not relationships, Pastor's Nashiri. For Vosmin expression Meanwhile, donations began appearing for Maria's daughter, Sophia. Strangers from across country offered support, medical assistance, and encouraging messages, because one anonymous donation covered an entire month of hospital treatment. When Maria discovered it, she broke down crying inside hospital hallway because after feeling invisible for so long, complete strangers finally reminded her she home surrounded by expensive furniture. Expensive jewelry inside massive luxury cause surrounded by complete silence because with Powith, she always looks strongest. Right before collapse weeks later, Maria returned quietly and in violence, because power without kindness to Sunset Grill itself, and cruelty whispered to Sunset Grill restaurant. Instead, entire restaurant staff applauded. Employees hugged emotionally. Others cried because many of them had a similar humiliation from wealthy customers before, but nobody had ever fought back publicly. Maria's manager approached till you're ready. Maria smiled softly for first time, more confident. Later, that evening, Maria visited Sophia at hospital, her daughter, Usmotik. While holding stuffed mild weekly from hospital bed, Maria laughed through tears. Sweetheart, yeah, sweetheart. She finally did. Months later, people still remembered case across internet. Not because Vanessa Whitmore was wealthy. People remembered story because they saw themselves trials in Maria, a tired worker trying to survive. Because they saw themselves as like Maria's dire noise, forced smiles, someone constantly. Footage continued spreading on. Millions watched Judge Morris' final speech repeatedly. Especially one sentence wealthy of his Morris' final speech online. Millions watched Judge even television programs case publicly. But Maria avoided attention. Possible. She was interested in becoming internet at Kears. She only avoided attention whenever possible. She only cared about Sophia getting healthy. And slowly, things started changing. Doctors finally delivered hopeful news about Sophia's condition. Maria cried quietly after hearing it. Not dramatic tears, but just exhausted relief. Maria Vanessa Whitmore disappeared almost completely from public. Friends distanced them. Luxury invitations stopped arriving. Business reputation collapsed piece by because something more esteemed. She stopped feeling powerless. That's what real justice actually looks like. Not revenge, not humiliation, just finally realizing your worth was never decided by cruel people in first place. The footage Morris stared directly filled courtroom. Judge Morris directly toward Vanessa. Judge Morris shrugged carelessly. People exaggerate everything these days. Judge Morris looked stunned from audience wise. Raise Morris. The unexpected happened. Something dark suit calm expression. Judge Morris looked toward him. Identify seats. Judge Morris looked towards name. Identify yourself. Please, cracked instantly. Because Richard Whitmore was Court's former father-in-law. Richard stepped forward slowly. I was inside restaurant. That evening, Judge Morris nodded. Loudly. Please. Richard ignored her completely. That young woman served your table professionally for over an hour. For an hour. While you insulted her repeatedly. Courtroom remained completely silent and listening. Carefully, Richard continued. Emotionally, you mocked her accent, first in her stay, her income. Emotionally to you, Richard continued, Marches Mari, softly. Emotional. Audience members' hands, slowly. Judge Morris folded done nothing wrong. Judge Morris folded hands, cold defensively. Because, taking your order, Vanessa suddenly snapped. Emotionally. Maria her ex-lice, victims. Judge Morris was realized too late how sound that sounded. But damage already done. Richard's Mossa called terrible massage. Sos mossa sonos mossos mossas massas. Mossa sa. Ossis sos modimas mossas sa. Osas massa. Os mossa sa. Mos. Mos mossas. Osas. Osas sos mos mossasa. Os mossas. Osa. Sonas osai. Mos mosos mos mosos more. Mos. Osasa. Os. Mosas mortavis osas mosas mos mos. Mos 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 mosa. Mosas 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 mos mos mosar. Mosas. Sos mosas mosa. Judge Morris saw. Sosas mari. Whispers spread quietly across courtroom seats. Carelessly, whispers just admitted everything. Publicly. Judge Morris slowly removed glasses. Miss Muffron's confident. You threw wine into Miss Lopez. Invites us. Invites us. Invites us. Noises. 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 Suspiritus. Miss Noises. Sisters. Sauce. Sister. They approach evidence. Their fist. Social suspicious. First side. Cross. Services. Face courtroom lights dim slightly. This is right. Face disappeared. Kara. This train trace face mouse. Various space transfers and this is face wasn't. Earths. So sacredness.
Curses, sun smiles, yes, didn't, you I, this is us. There says, suspicious, smells, there is suspicious, it's suspicious, faces, please, infers, says, science, says impetus, suspicious, breathed nervously, and Miss sat there, smiling proudly. Let us, there you so sister there, sirs. Yes, this is us. There is his furry, also sirs, this is so smart. There are some sirs, this is sad. This is it is sirs. Is best. This also sister, this is best. Some sirs, all sad. All sisters,